Welcome back to the Structure Talk podcast. Tessa, great to see you broadcasting from sunny Florida. How's everything down there?
Sunny, hot, humid, miserable Florida. Okay, it's nice to escape to Florida when it's like, -20 and it's icy back
Yeah,
in Minnesota. But
so
every day,
nice.
the humidity just hits you as soon as you walk out the door. There's no relief. Anyways, I don't know how people live like this. Air conditioning. That's how you live in this. Air
You're
conditioning.
you are now living like this. Yes.
Right. Yeah, and I'm enjoying staying inside. It's reversed from Minnesota. Like everybody down here, just for the entire month, like for June, July, August, September, I think people just stay inside and they go from
Wow.
the air conditioned house, the air conditioned car, like you just stay inside. And in Minnesota, it's like, oh, it's spring. Everybody's out in their shorts when like there's still snow on the ground because they're just so happy it's above freezing,
Oh yeah, for
and you're
sure.
outside as much as you can be outside because for 6 months out of the year, it's a frozen tundra. No one wants to go out.
Yep.
But winter time is when everyone does their stuff outside here, because it's still 70, 80 degrees.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
it's just a mindset shift.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
How's
Anyway,
everything going for you? What are you keeping busy with these days, Tess?
yeah, good question. My health has been struggle this week. You can
Oh,
probably hear it. Sorry, listeners. I
just
was just
just
telling
a
Reuben.
little.
I was just telling you before we started recording. I have been very sick, and it's one thing after another. But the latest thing has been the nastiest sinus infection of my life, and I will spare you the details. But it has been horrible. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
Eh,
and I was just saying I had that like 2 weeks ago. I think I had
yeah.
the same thing that you've got, and it was miserable.
Yeah. It's knocked me out. It's knocked me out. But other than that, it's been good. I still am, scheduling house coach consultations for my visits when I'm up in the Twin Cities. So I schedule those, for the weeks that I'm up there, and then I've been working with some other organizations on creating curriculum for different groups of people right now, focusing on contractors and hers raters and builders, so teaching them about how the house is a system and building science, and so that's been really fun doing
Good
that.
for you. Good for you.
Yeah,
Glad you're staying
yeah,
busy.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
been good, it's been good. Yeah,
Okay.
how about you? Anything new you want to share?
Nothing super new. No. Trying to play disc golf as much as possible,
Good.
and got out golfing a few times this year, and that's about
Nice.
it. Business is
Good.
kind of chugging along. We're staying
Good.
busy. It's as busy as we can handle. So
Awesome. With the two
good
new
year.
inspectors you have added to the team, so that's
Yep.
great.
Yep. Couple of awesome new guys, Martin and Edward. They're rocking it. I mean,
Awesome.
they're crushing it with reviews. People love them. Good to have
So good to
awesome
hear.
people on the team. Yeah.
Oh, good to hear. Good to hear. Well,
Yep.
so let's dive into the podcast. What are we talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about home inspection attendance. Who
Okay.
should come to the inspection? Hopefully, well, obviously we got the home inspector there, but should the buyer be there? Should their agent come? Should the sellers be there? Should the seller's agent come? And what about everybody else? Like
What about everybody
family
else?
and extended family and in-laws and coworkers and friends and contractors and kids, all these, who should be at the inspection? And do we have an opinion
Oh,
on all this? I think we have opinions on all of it.
I
And
think
we're
we
going
do
to get
have
to the
opinions.
bottom of it.
Let's do it. Let's
Okay.
chat about it.
All right. Before we dig in, let me give a quick shout out to our show sponsors, IEB, Inspector Empire Builder, helping home inspectors up their game. That's what they do. They're all about making home inspectors' businesses better. This is not a technical teaching organization. It's a business organization. They could probably be teaching in many different fields, but they happen to teach home inspectors how to have better businesses. And right now, at the time we're recording, we got the big annual conference called Unite going on. If you're listening to this, you missed it. Think about next year. but there are two conferences that are open to everybody coming. There's going to be another one in the fall, so we'll surely be talking about that one in a few months. But we love IEB, and I will have a link to them in the show notes. But back to the topic at hand, home inspection attendance. So Tessa, why don't you open it up? What do you think about home buyers attending the inspection?
Well, they're the ones that are usually purchasing our services.
Yep.
They're the ones buying the house. We're doing the inspection for them. And I'll say it's interesting when I started working at Structure Tech. What was that? 2016?
That sounds right.
Gosh,
Yeah.
ish, something like that. We were doing things differently. We were encouraging the buyers to show up at the beginning of our inspection,
Yeah.
and that's how I was trained to do things. We were going through every inch of the house with the buyers there,
Yep.
and we were encouraging them to ask questions, and we were using it as almost kind of just an educational period of time to teach them what we were seeing, what we were um, interpreting things, and explaining to them what it was that they were buying. And um, you know that's just kind of how I was trained in. And then once COVID hit, everything changed, and we
Yeah.
weren't, we tried to restrict how many people were there, and 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 then we shifted to having the buyer showing up at the end so that we could do focus on our inspection and then relay the most important things to them at the end in kind of a controlled, concise way. And that shift, it was a big shift, but I appreciated um how it gave the inspector time to just focus on what they were doing in their job.
Yes.
And I think it's, as an inspector, there's so many things to look at, and it's hard enough when you're there by yourself trying to document everything, let alone having people there asking you questions, distracting you. So I think we were able to give better quality inspections. It was easier for the inspector, and I think it made it easier as well, at least for me. I'm speaking for myself, to kind of digest everything I was seeing and then be able to kind of give the client or the buyer a kind of bullet point of the most important things so that we weren't overwhelming them with all of the details. We were able
Yes.
to kind of dig into it and say, what do I really need to share with these people and what matters to them? Have a conversation with them and then share. And so that became kind of my preferred method. I think everybody else on the team preferred that too. Once we got a taste of what it was like doing inspection alone, no one wanted to go back. It's nice
Yeah.
having the house to yourself, I think, as an inspector. We can all agree on that. So that's just my perspective. I don't know if you have a different one, Reuben.
Yes and amen to everything you just said, Tess. I mean, you put it together very clearly, and I would say everything you just said. I agree with all of that.
Yeah,
I
and you
think
couldn't
it's
convince us to do it a different way before COVID. We were set on having the buyers showing up so
yeah,
that we could talk to them the whole time.
that's the way
But
I always did home inspections.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Sometimes we're forced to change. We don't want to, but it can be, a better way of doing things, and you don't know
Yeah.
until you try sometimes.
Yeah, I think it
Gotta
did
keep
turn
an
out
open mind.
better. I mean, there's so many times where it's like you're in the middle of one thing, and then the client's like, "Well, can you come take a look at this?" They're pulling you away. Then you forget to
Yeah,
come back and finish what you were doing, or you
yeah.
leave this on, or you got people who they leave the gate open, and or
Oh,
you got people inside. You turn all the fans on, and then the buyer turns the fan off. You're on the roof, and you're like, "There's no air coming out here. What the heck?" You go back
yeah.
inside, the fan's off, and it's like, you guys, I told you don't touch anything. You try to say it as nicely as possible, but it's like
Yeah, yeah. You're messing up
so
my
many.
flow. Yeah.
You're messing up my flow. Yeah, exactly. It's so many ways that having a buyer there does make things take longer. So I agree with everything you just said, and I was in the middle of writing a blog post about this earlier today, and something that I thought about too is that we definitely experience scope creep in this business. You know what I'm talking about when I say scope creep?
Oh, yeah. I've never heard that phrase before applied to this, but that is so true.
Yeah. Our inspections take just a little bit longer every year because we keep
Yep.
adding on more stuff. We're like, oh, we got this tool. We're going to start using it here. Oh, we're going to take our moisture meter and new policy. We're going to scan around the floor of every toilet. Oh, new thing we're doing. We're going to run a towel through the washing machine. Like all
Yes.
these different things we keep changing and adding on. It's like, oh, this only adds 2 minutes. This only adds 3 minutes. But you add all this stuff up, and it's like inspections are taking longer and longer. And whereas we used
Yeah.
to get home inspection when I first started, 2 to 3 hours, that'd be about right for a home inspection. But today, we don't schedule anything less than 4 hours. So I think part of it is just scope creep. We need more time, and the buyers get bored when they're there for 4 hours. That is
Yeah.
a huge time commitment. So I think it's a better
Yeah.
experience for our clients to just be
Yeah.
there for more kind of the executive summary and here's how your house works. Here's all the important stuff we found. Here's what you need to know now that you own the house. Here's what you need to maintain. And we can get all that done in an hour and it works really nicely. I think it's a better
Yeah. And
experience.
I agree 100%. Not only is it a better experience for the buyers, I think, but also it's a reduction of potential like liability issues for structure tech as well, the home inspection company not having the client there for 4 hours. It's just I mean, I clients will get into things you wouldn't think they would get into if they're just standing around waiting for you and it's been
Yes.
3.5, 4 hours. It's like, like, what are you doing? You like stop messing with those blinds. You just, or
Yeah.
oh shoot, I just let the cat out. Now we got to go chase the
Yes.
cat down. It's like all these things that could potentially happen when they're hanging around for that amount of time.
And now we're going out of order, but we're talking about other people coming to the inspection, especially if they're going
Yes,
to be there for 4 hours or 3 hours or whatever it is, and they bring other people along, like kids. Have you have kids come to the inspection and cause problems,
please
Tess?
don't. Just please don't bring your kids
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
or keep
okay,
them on a leash.
yeah, keep them on a leash. All right, fine. You got like an infant; they're going to be sleeping. Okay, I'll be quiet.
That's fine. Yeah,
You got one kid, you're going to hold them the whole time,
yeah,
fine. But
it's tough.
you got a bunch of 3 to 7 year olds running around. I
Oh,
mean, they like to get into stuff, they like to
they
turn
do.
stuff. I've seen people like bring food for their kids and all right, you guys sit
Yes.
on the carpet and eat this here. It's what are you doing? This isn't even your house. you,
Yeah.
you can't do it. I had one. These girls, they were young girls, probably under 10 or whatever. And one of them, I don't remember the exact details, but one of them had gone in the jewelry box and she tried to leave
Oh,
wearing the owner's jewelry. And
you're
it's like,
kidding.
what
Did
is
you catch
going
that or was it the parents?
I don't even
That's
remember.
crazy.
I don't even
That's
remember how this happened.
that's
It was a long time
crazy.
ago,
Oh
but
my
it was just,
gosh.
I mean, it blew my
Talk
mind.
about liabilities.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm there to do the home inspection. I'm not there to babysit. I can't
No,
watch the kids. I can't watch
no,
the buyers the whole time.
no,
I,
no,
I got to do my
no.
job. Yeah.
I would say it would frustrate me when I would show up and there'd be a loose pet in the house. But when you've got kids running around, it's a whole nother level.
That's a whole, yeah. Yeah. That's taking it to a new level for sure. Yep.
Oh
All right. So
man.
that's buyers. It's very nice for the buyer to be there if at all possible. We like to have them there for the last hour.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work. You got out of town clients. They can't make it in town for the home inspection. We get it. We take tons of photos. We take videos. We do detailed stuff. We've had a number of situations where buyers absolutely couldn't make it and they really wanted to see some stuff. So our inspector got them on FaceTime or whatever we're using for a video chat. And they spent like a half hour talking into the phone, kind of pointing and showing them stuff around the house. I'm not saying that we do this with every inspection, but when it works and the technology is working, a number of our inspectors are happy to do that. So there's workarounds, but if a buyer can be present, that's always ideal. Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
All right. So that's the buyer. How about the buyer's agent? What do you think about that, Tessa?
I always loved it when the buyer's agent was there. at the end, to hear the summary and straight from the horse's mouth, because
Yeah.
I've been in situations where, and I think if you're an inspector listening to this, you tell a client what you've seen, what it means, what to do about it. And, and this is not a world that they're comfortable in typically. That's why they're paying for a home inspection. They don't know. And, out of just ignorance, they misinterpret or say something a little bit differently than what you told them. And they tell
Uh-huh.
that to their agent. And the next thing you know, the agent is like, "Why did you tell my clients that their house is going to burn down?" And it's like, well, I didn't really say that. That's not what I said.
Yeah.
Like, read the report. If you would have been there, you would have heard, what I told them. And it's like, okay, they've got knob and tube wiring that's a higher potential for a fire hazard if it's been messed with or buried in insulation. I can see it's buried in insulation, and this is something that they should be aware of. And it doesn't mean that their house is going to burn down tomorrow. It's like,
No.
okay, so I always appreciated it when there was a real estate agent who took the time out of their schedule, um, to be there for their client, to hear what it was that they were hearing from the home inspector, because they're there to help that client, make that decision, and just and kind of sort through, what does that mean? And in this market, okay, good luck trying to negotiate price out of defects that you find. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
depending on the market, if there's something that's really big and you need to go back to the sellers and you need to talk to them about it, I think it's great for the home inspector to be able to talk directly to the buyer's agent in that
Yes.
scenario.
Yeah, yeah, it is helpful. And you're reminding me of a story I've told many times. I've probably mentioned it on this podcast. I remember specifically one home inspection where I was saying, yeah, the furnace is 20 years old. It's nearing the end of its life expectancy or at the end of its life. Who knows how long you're going to have, but just budget for replacement sometime soon. And then
Yeah. The same thing we always say. Yep.
and then as soon as the agent got there, they they're like, "So what do you think about the house?" And first thing the client says, "Well, the home inspector said we need to replace the furnace immediately."
Yeah, yeah, that kind
I
of thing.
said nothing of the sort.
That's what they've heard though, and that's the hard part. It's like, the miscommunication. I said this, but they heard this, and then they say this, and so
Yeah,
it just becomes a big, messy stew of
yeah.
emotions.
And I try so hard to make it clear that that's not what I'm saying,
To
but it
quote
doesn't
Will
matter.
Ferrell, "I'm in a glass case of emotions." It's like you got the buyers who are stressed out, and they hear you say something like that, and they freak out, and then they take
Yep.
off, and then it's just a spiral.
Yeah. Yeah. I for this blog post, I put together, and I'm kind of cheating off a post that I wrote many years ago. It was probably 15 years ago, but I'd made a
Wow.
list of different agents and talking about whether this agent should come to the inspection or they should stay home. So we'll
Ah,
share a few of those just for fun.
okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Number one, we've got the annoyed agent. Now, this agent acts like they're doing the
You a
biggest
favor.
favor to the clients in the world for selling them a house, and
Shouldn't laugh,
they
but
they don't
yeah,
want they don't want to be at the
it's
inspection.
true.
Everything we talk about, they moan and they sigh and they roll their eyes, and then they are ready to write up the purchase agreement addendum before everybody leaves the house. They haven't even seen the report, but they want to write up an addendum right on site.
Yeah.
For that agent, I say you should stay home. I have one, Tessa. I'll never forget this one. The agent was
Yeah.
there. The buyer was blind, and the agent was there helping him through it. But the agent, like, he was running behind schedule. He was so hurried, so frazzled, and he wanted to write up the purchase agreement addendum and have him sign it right on site because it was a hassle
Jeez.
communicating with this client. And
Oh,
he wanted
pressure.
he
All the
he like
Yeah.
he wanted the buyers to sign my inspection agreement on site, but he had never read it to him, and then he wanted me to read the inspection agreement, and
Oh my goodness.
I had no idea what to do. I mean, this was very early on in my career.
Wow.
We didn't have electronic sign, and we didn't have
Well,
things
and it's
dialed
not
in,
like
but
it's one paragraph either. This,
no.
you know.
And I remember sitting down and reading the whole thing to the clients.
Oh,
line
you're a
by
good man,
line.
Reuben. You're a
It
good man.
well, I didn't know what else to do, and I don't know if that was the right thing to do or not. But
It
I just
probably
remember
was.
thinking,
Yeah.
this agent is doing such a disservice to their clients. But
Yeah.
okay, that's the
Ugh.
annoyed agent. Another one is the know-it-all. This is the agent who knows a little bit
Oh,
about houses. They want to make sure you know how much they know, and
yeah.
they want to do more talking than you do. I think that agent probably should stay home. They're probably not going to be helpful at the home inspection.
Or they could be a home inspector. We've got someone on your team now who came from that world.
Oh,
Maybe you should switch
we got two of them. Yeah,
careers. Switch careers.
yeah. And there are a number of extremely knowledgeable agents. I mean, I can think of a
Yes.
number of them whom we've had on our podcast. I'm not going to name
Yeah.
them because I don't want to forget some of them who are very important, but we've
Yeah.
got a number of agents who I swear they could do 90% of what we're doing for the home inspection. Maybe not that
Yeah.
much, but they could do a lot of it. They know so
Yes.
much about so many things. And you know what they do during the inspection? They shut up and listen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And they're taking it in, they're hearing what you're saying, and then they're also explaining things to their client as well, too. So they are
Yeah,
definitely value added. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Agreed. I appreciate real estate agents that care about their client enough to show up, sit there the whole time, and really listen to what you have to say as a
yes,
home inspector.
yep, yep. Another one on the negative side. We're getting the negatives out of the way. This one is
Okay.
the critic. This is the
Oh,
one where they've never worked with us before. They're normal home inspectors out of town, or they're sick, or their client wanted to work with us, but they heard Structure Tech is deal killers, and you don't want to work with them, but their client insisted, and so they are there to nitpick and argue with everything they say. They want to roll their eyes. Well, my home inspection in my 20 years of real estate, I've never heard of this. Blah 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 blah, et cetera, et cetera. I think they're exposing themselves to a lot of liability, and
yeah.
they should probably stay home from the home inspection too. Have you dealt with any of those?
Yes, I have. And I think most of the time it's agents who kind of use the same, let's just say Bob for 20 years, and
Yeah,
Bob's not available that day. And so they happen to go with you. And yes, very that there's lack of trust there and also just a lack of experience and kind of a different way of doing things.
yeah, yeah, yep. That they can get themselves in trouble. Now, here on the other side, few other kinds of agents, the other inspector, they truly want to help out. They have
Yeah.
their client's best interest in mind. They want to help you. They're like, oh, you want me to go turn on the thermostat? You want me to turn this up for you? Oh, maybe I can help you move this stuff out of the closet. They stacked all this stuff blocking your access. You want some help
Yeah.
moving it all?
Yeah.
Come to every inspection every time. We love having you.
I would
They're
say
just there to
I
help.
love those. Love those agents. Yes, you can move all the contents of the closet out of the way for me. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes, exactly. Or they're on the phone with the listing agent, like, I'll
Yes.
try to find out where they hid the remote for the garage and blah, blah,
Yes.
blah. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
please, please, and thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Another one would be the rookie. This is someone who is new to real estate. They've only sold a few homes. Maybe they haven't sold any, and they want to learn more about houses.
Yeah.
By all means, this is what Structure Tech is all about. We're about education. We love
Yeah.
it when they come to the inspections because
Yeah.
they're making themselves into better agents.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, another one would be the hand holder. This gets into
Mm.
just a lot of emotional support. You got a first time home buyer. A lot of the time, it's going to be a woman who is recently divorced. She has never owned a home on her own. And it doesn't have to be women, but it just ends up being this a little bit more often where maybe their husband took care of everything. Now they're going to be going on their own, or very young buyers, whether it's a couple or it's a female. I don't know why. I don't do a lot of home inspections for single men buying homes. It's usually either single women or couples. But whatever it is, someone who just needs a professional to be there to hold their hand throughout this home buying process. It's first time home buyers, and the agent is there to give a lot of moral support, listen in, nod at the right times. By all means, your clients need you there. Come along to the inspection. What's been your experience for first time home buyers?
Well, I was just kind of listening to what you're saying, and it reminded me of an article I read a little while ago that was showing statistically there are more single women buying homes than single men buying homes these days.
Yeah,
And then I think we can all agree that, I mean, obviously, like, millennials, even younger generations that are buying homes now, like, we didn't, a lot of us didn't grow up knowing or having parents teach us how to take care of our house. And so I think I agree with you in the fact that there's a lot of younger couples out there that just feel completely overwhelmed, first time home buyers or whoever it is, men or women, majority women, it seems like statistically, that are buying homes now that
yeah,
just they don't know what they don't know, and
yep,
there's fear that goes along with that. So if you're an agent working with someone like that, who's never taken care of a home, never owned a home, then I think it's a good thing for you to be there to just offer them additional support.
yep, yep. Okay. And then I got one more type listed here, and this is the professional. This is the one who's coming. A lot of the time, they've got experienced home buyers. They've already been through it. They don't need their agent to hold their hand, but they do want the agent to be there to kind of hear the executive summary, be there for the
Yeah,
last 15-minute wrap up. What's the big stuff? What do I need to know? What are
yeah,
we going to be addressing?
yeah,
I want to hear it right from the home inspector's mouth. By all means, please come to the inspection. And that's a lot of the agents that we work with. I mean, that makes up
yeah,
a ton of them.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and these agents will flip flop. Sometimes that agent is going to be the one who's going to be there to hold the buyer's hand the whole time. Other times,
Mhm.
maybe they're not going to show up at all. And I'd say, what percentage of the inspections would you say agents would actually show up at?
I was just I was just going to ask you the same question, Ruben, and then I was thinking about it. Um, I think the longer I did inspections, the percentages of types of real estate agents would change. So when I first started and I didn't know anybody, I'd say the majority of home inspections where an agent showed up was maybe 1 out of 3.
Uh
And
huh.
usually it was an agent I didn't know. And so it would be one of those earlier categories, I felt like. Um, the longer I did inspecting, the more requests I got and the more agents I got to know and got to know me, and we built up some trust. And so then it shifted to maybe like half of the inspections I was doing were like requests. I'd have to look back at the numbers, but
Sure.
maybe
No,
it was
you're
less
you're
than
right
that.
on. I know what your numbers were. Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember it all, but yeah, it seemed like probably half the inspections I'd show up, it was an agent I knew. I'm like, oh great, this is wonderful. They're going to be here for the last hour. They know my process. We'll be able to talk about the big stuff, and they'll be there for their client. And it's just, it's it's smooth sailing. So I think it just depends on, how long you've been inspecting and your service area and all of that for what
Yeah.
what you're dealing with.
Yep. Yep. I
I don't know, what do
agree.
you think? Okay.
For me, I think it was about half the time the agents would show up to the inspection. And, if I were a real estate agent, I feel like I'd probably be showing up to half of my inspections, maybe three-quarters of them. It depends. I think it would really depend on my clients and the house. I mean,
Agreed.
you're
Yeah.
buying a typical 19 whatever's house, 2,000 square feet. There's probably nothing too crazy. All right, maybe it's not so important that I be there. You're working with more experienced home buyers. This is their fourth
Yeah.
house. They've had a number of home inspections. Maybe I don't need to show up at all. Maybe I'd ask them, hey, you want me to come listen in? They're like, no, you don't need to. Okay, I won't. But
Yeah.
if I got people who need their hand held, they're scared as all heck, yeah, I'm going to every one of those. Or
Yeah.
even if I've got experienced buyers and they're buying a 10,000 square foot house and the home inspector is going to be there all day, you can bet I'm going to show up at some point during the inspection. Maybe I'll show up at the
Yeah.
beginning. Maybe I'll stop by
Yeah.
with some coffee in the afternoon.
Oh,
Maybe
coffee and
make a
snacks.
couple of trips because this is a
Yeah.
big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, agreed, agreed.
Yep. So we can't say always, we can't say never. We'll have to say your favorite phrase.
It depends.
It depends. Yeah. Okay.
It does. That applies here. Yes.
Yep. All right. Next one. The seller. Should the seller attend the home inspection?
Oh, that's pretty black and white for me. I would say no.
Okay. All right.
What do
Why
you
not?
think? Um, well, that's happened a couple times when I was inspecting, and it's always a train wreck. Man, trying to
Yep.
handle that experience with the buyers and the sellers in the same room at the same time. Usually it's because the seller is anxious about something, or they don't want you touching something, or they want to explain something to you, and it just makes for a really messy situation.
Yes.
Complicated, usually.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the
Yep.
most contentious, ugly situations I have ever had to deal with were when a seller was present during the inspection and they wanted to listen
Yes.
in. I remember
Yes.
there was one I was doing. I agreed to do it on a Saturday morning. It was special circumstances. Buyers were only in town for a short period of time. Seller was there and he was trying to argue with everything I was saying. And I remember there was a test hole in the furnace flue, and the previous contractor had covered it over with metal tape,
Yeah.
and I went in and I stuck my CO meter in the furnace flue to test it, and he didn't see me do it. Like, he had been looking the other way, but then he looked over, he sees I'm testing, he's like mad, he's like, who said you could put a hole in there? And I was like, there was already a hole here. Your previous contractor drilled a hole. It's just a test hole and it gets covered with
Yeah.
tape. He's like, well,
Yeah.
if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have let you do it. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're really showing your
Yes.
colors here. This was already
Yeah.
here, but now
Yeah.
you're trying to yell at me for doing it. Like,
Yeah. Well, and y it's so stressful as a home inspector. You're trying to do your job, and you got someone yelling at you and, getting in the way of you doing your job. How do you handle that? And I remember when I was a fairly new inspector, I showed up, met the buyers out in the driveway, gave them my spiel. We go into the house, and the front door opens for me, and I was like, "What?" It was the buyer or the seller. They were still there.
yeah,
It was an older man, and I was not expecting anybody to be there. Because we send out all the email communications beforehand to all the parties, letting them know what we prefer, how things work.
yeah,
Clearly, he hadn't gotten the email, or his agent hadn't told him to leave, and so he was there. And there was a little moment of confusion and talking to him about how we're going to be here for the next 3 or 4 hours doing an inspection, blah blah blah. Clearly the buyers were uncomfortable with him being there. He didn't get the memo and he did not want to leave. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so I couldn't do my normal kind of talking out loud because he was following around. So I told the buyers, I'm like, okay, I can't remember if I think I let the buyer's agent know too. I was like, sending him a text or something like that, that the seller was still there and didn't want to leave. But what was crazy about the situation is I found out why he didn't want to leave shortly thereafter. The house had had a fire, and the whole electrical panel had caught on fire, but
okay,
they had not replaced it. So he was there, and he wanted to take the cover off the panel. Like, he didn't want me inspecting it. And then he was the one that took the panel cover off. And there was
okay,
nothing I could do about it. And anyways, I look back at this now. I'm like, I can't believe I would have handled this differently now. But
yeah,
he took the panel cover off, and I looked at it, and the whole thing was black and scorched and like melted. And I was like, okay, all right, thank you. I didn't say anything else.
yes, yes,
Took some pictures. And then that was obviously a topic of conversation with the buyers. It's like, yeah, clearly this guy is covering up the fact that, or trying to, minimize the fact that this has been a really dangerous situation going on and still is. So,
yeah,
anyways, it's just, yes, if it's a seller that doesn't want to leave, or if it's an agent that didn't do their part in communicating, it makes our lives a lot harder if they are there for the inspection.
yes, yes. And what I've found, I mean, I over the years, I figured out the best approach if they are going to be there. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Is just don't talk. And I'll take the
Yes.
buyers out in the driveway. I say that Sarah's going to be here. They're going to be eavesdropping. So we're not going to do any talking inside the house. I mean, you can follow me around, you can watch what I'm doing, but I'm not going to explain stuff. I may just kind of make eye contact here and there and nod towards something. And it means I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to you about it later. And so as we're
Yeah.
walking around the outside, maybe I'll catch you up on a few things and we'll go through it at the end, but we're not having discussions here in front of the seller. And that worked okay when I would do it
Yeah.
that way. But it's
Well,
just weird.
it is weird. You know what? And usually that means that the buyers are frustrated and they're
Yeah.
not, they understand it's not your fault as the home inspector that we do all these communications beforehand. In fact, I think it makes their agent look bad usually because it's like,
Yeah.
what went on here? Why didn't you make sure that the house is
Yes.
available for us? We will only need it for a few hours. Why can't we have that?
Yep.
Where, they're entitled to that. And so usually it ends up creating some friction, I think, with the buyers and their agent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, if I were a home seller, I would not want to be there. I mean, and this is advice to home sellers. You probably don't want to be there during the inspection because I remember there was a number of cases where I'd be at the home and the buyers wouldn't be there, and it was known that the buyers either weren't coming at all or they were going to come at the end. So someone said, "Do you mind if the sellers are going to be there? They'll be out of your way since there's nobody to talk to." In that case, it's like, yeah, sure, I don't care. I mean, as long as they're not getting in my way and turning stuff
Agreed.
off, I don't care if they're
Yeah.
going about their business. But if they're there, I would ask them questions. Like, I would
Yeah.
love asking them questions. Like, yeah,
Yes.
hey, hoping you can help me with something. I just there's a stain on your kitchen ceiling. Do you know when that showed up? What did you do to
Yeah.
fix it? And like,
Yeah.
I would ask them all this stuff that, as a home seller, I wouldn't want someone asking me this. Like, I would
Exactly.
rather just play dumb. So I'd ask
Yes.
them all kinds of questions. And, oh, I can't get this light to turn on. Can you help me find the switch? And, oh, it's broken. Oh, okay. Per
Oh,
the seller, this has always been broken. And I would put stuff that the seller told me. I'd put that
yes.
in my inspection report.
Yes.
So
Document it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, as a seller, why would you want to be there? The one exception though, I'd say would be, let's say you got someone who works from home. They're like, yeah, I got to be in my office. I'm just going to keep the
Sure.
doors closed. You
Yep.
can come in whenever you want,
Yep.
check it out, and then close the doors, and I'll stay out of your hair. In that case, I really
That's
don't
fine.
have a problem with it.
Agreed. Agreed. I had that a few times and it's just, you work around that. Not a
Yeah.
problem.
Yep. Yep. That's okay. Okay. So that's the seller. How about the seller's agent?
The seller's agent. Well, I'm thinking back. I don't know if I ran into that too often. And if I did it, I think it would probably be a situation where maybe there was something unique with the house that they had to show you. And in
Yeah.
that case, I was appreciative that they were there to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one, and I'm sure I told the story on this podcast before. I've told it many times where the sellers were really uncomfortable with anybody being in their house. They were very distrusting, and they
Mhm.
wanted their agent there. And the agent said, "I'm just going to be on my laptop in the kitchen. I'll be a professional. I'm not going to get in your way." You know where I'm
Yeah.
going with this.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the kitchen, and this is like 20 years ago. I'm new to inspections, and I went to turn on the dishwasher, and he's like, "Oh wait, hold on,"
Oh,
and
yeah.
he took the seller's laptops out of the dishwasher
Oh
because
my
that's where they
gosh.
hid them during showings. It's like, okay, note to self: never turn on a dishwasher or an oven without looking inside there
Without
first.
checking.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Laptops. Oh,
yeah.
who would have guessed?
Yeah, so I was
Crazy.
really glad he was there for that, and it was a free
Mhm.
lesson for me that I passed down to all
Yes.
the inspectors on our team.
Good lesson.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
good free lesson. And then the other exception would be when you got crazy houses, like you got a 10,000 square foot house, and
Yeah.
maybe the listing agent is going to be there to introduce themselves, let you in, unlock the doors. We don't have a
Yep.
lockbox. We'll let you in, and
Yep.
here's the caretaker. The caretaker lives in the carriage house out here. His name is Greg. If you need anything, Greg
Yeah,
has done everything at this house and he can answer any questions. And it's like,
that's amazing.
that is so helpful. I will take that every
Wish every
time.
house had a Greg.
Yes. Yes. And it's like, the caretaker can be like, oh, yeah, to get at that section of the attic, we've got a hidden panel here. And, oh, we replaced all of this. And here's how this works. Here's the switches for that. It's like,
Yeah,
please, you
yeah,
can be there every time. I love it when
yeah,
caretakers are there because they don't have
yeah,
any emotional interest in the house and they can
yeah,
tell you so much about what has happened. So,
yeah. True,
yeah,
true.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And they probably want to get hired by the next home buyers too. So,
Good point. Good point.
yeah, they can be there every time. And then okay, last one I guess was everybody else. The
Everybody else. Next
the
category.
family, the friends, the
I,
coworkers. Tessa, tell me some stories.
I was going to say, if you're an inspector, I'm sure you have your own stories, and we would love to hear them. So please email us,
Yes,
or
please do.
share. Yeah, please share. And there are some very rich stories. Maybe you want to highlight some, Reuben, from the inspectors on our team.
I
Uh,
I
I
should.
You should. I
Yeah.
think you should, because I've shared a few on the podcast. I know in the past, some of the ones that just come to mind are um, cats, cats that have escaped, cats that have crawled into attic spaces that I didn't know, were in there, got into knee walls, and then the next hour you're like trying to get the cat out of the attic so you can seal it up.
Yeah.
Um, and even having contractors or dads. Of course, we home inspectors, we complain about this all the time. When dad shows up and dad knows more than the home inspector, and then you got to go through that
Oh.
whole process of earning trust and proving that you know what you're talking about. So there's that kind of game that goes on, and the more people you have, the crazier usually it gets. So,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Share some of your stories, Ruben, or stories from the structure tech team that stand out to you.
Well, I'll save some of the team stories. Maybe we'll get some people from our team on to tell some of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I can tell you one. There was a contractor who came. He was like a friend of the buyer, and he wanted to be there the whole time during the inspection. And the guy was just a complete jerk. It was like he was mad that he didn't get hired to do the home inspection. So the entire time he had these snide comments, and he was trying to prove that he knew more than me about houses.
Oh my
And
God.
it was just, and at the end, my client like apologized to me in private. She's like, I'm so sorry, I don't know why he's being this way, and he's a good friend, and she just apologized up and down. And
Yeah, it's an
I thought,
ego thing.
and I did, yeah, and I didn't realize how much it was bugging me until the end. And I realized if I'm ever in that situation again, I'm gonna nicely ask them, like, either I need to go or you need to go, but we can't be here at the same time. Like that would have been a smart thing for me
Well
to say.
said. Well
But
said. Yeah.
I didn't I didn't realize how much I
Uh,
was stressed out until I just had
well,
to go
and
home
that
and have a
puts
drink or something.
God,
Not
yeah, and that
literally,
puts the
but
buyer in a tough situation too, because then they're like, "Oh, shoot, they wanted that person to be there, but they're behaving that way. You're telling them to leave, but they want the inspection done by you. They've hired you already."
yep.
It's like they should say something, but they didn't.
Yeah.
So then it's like, how are you going to handle this as a home
Yes.
inspector? You have to set. I think one thing that I think I got more comfortable with the more inspections I did was just setting better boundaries
Yes.
as a
Yes.
home inspector. I mean, when you're new, you don't know what's normal, what's not normal, like how you should handle all these unique situations. And we tried to incorporate some of that stuff into our training program
Yeah,
that
we
we
did.
had. Like, what do you do if you show up and there's kids at the house, like waiting for the school bus and no parent? Like, do not go in the house. That
Do
sort
not
of
go in the
training,
house.
right?
Yeah,
Do not
that's
go
a
in the house.
rule.
You cannot start the inspection. Um, but situations like what you're talking about, I think it falls on each inspector to determine what they are willing to handle and what they're not,
Yeah.
and to take ownership of that. And you, as the owner of Structure Tech, you were always very supportive. I remember, to me and to everybody else on the team, it's like, okay, if you're not comfortable, then get out of the situation and, do what you have to do, and I'll have your back. And so I
Yeah.
always appreciated that. knowing that if I wasn't comfortable doing it, that would be okay with you.
Yep.
And you'd support that. So I think every situation you just have to kind of go into and weigh weigh the pros and the cons and what you're willing to deal with and what you're comfortable with and liability and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another one where I remember the sellers were there the whole time, and it was a really uncomfortable situation. It was a bad neighborhood, and the sellers, like, it just, there was like four people, four adults who seemed to all be unemployed. They were chain smoking inside the house. There was, empty alcohol bottles everywhere. There's ashtrays. There's, they're smoking weed, and
Yeah.
there were guns laying around.
Oh
And
my
our
goodness.
inspector was really uncomfortable. He called me at the beginning, and it's like
Yeah.
he didn't want to be there. And I said, I'll just
Yeah.
come. I'll just come. And I
Okay.
came, and I
Yeah.
just
Wow.
hung out and let him
Yeah.
do his job. And I just kind of chatted
Moral
with the other
support.
people just to have a second person there. And it's not like we can
Yeah.
always do that, but
No. That's a
sometimes it's
luxury
just
of a
what
multi-inspector company.
yeah, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
what can you do to go out of your way to make this home inspection happen? Because the last thing you want to do is get back to your clients, be like, sorry, I can't do the inspection. It's like, well, now what do they do? I mean,
Yeah.
you're buying a
Well,
house,
and
you're
I
under
could say
contract.
professionally, I could look back and then say that was the listing agent or the buyer's agent should have, been responsible for making sure that the house was
Yes.
like in a good space to be inspected, and it wasn't.
No.
Um, so, but you handled that like a pro, like you always do, and sacrificed yourself for an inspection. So, thank you.
And my
Sure, the
clothes.
client.
No.
You wonder why halfway through you're sitting on the couch laughing with everybody. You're
Right.
in a good
Right.
mood.
Yeah.
Secondhand
Oh,
high.
exactly. Yeah. Gross. Just
Oh
gross.
man. Well, I know we've got some good stories from other inspectors on the team. I won't spoil
We
it,
do.
but pet situations, toilet
Pet
situations,
situations. Oh my gosh.
uh,
Yeah, we've got a lot of stories we can tell. We'll save
poopy
those for another
situations.
time. So we've covered attendance at the inspection. I think, to summarize, the buyers, it's always great if the buyers can be there, at least for the end if they can make it, depending
Yeah.
on what your home inspector prefers. That's certainly our preference, is for the last hour. For the buyer's agent, it depends. There can be a lot of value in a buyer's agent showing up. The sellers ought to get out of the house, and for the seller's agent, they really should not be there unless you have some extenuating circumstances. And even then, just be there to make an appearance, do
Yeah.
whatever you got to do, say whatever you got to do, and then get out. You're not there to tag along.
Right. And if the seller has pets, take them with you. Please. Please
Yeah,
take them with you.
take
I
them with
feel so
you,
bad
lock
for
them
the
up.
I know. I feel so bad for the dogs that are in kennels and they're just barking the entire time, so stressed out that there's intruders in their house. And then you have to hear the barking the entire time, or cats that are wandering around the house and are out to get you. I swear to God, every single cat that's been loose in a house that I've inspected, I feel like is hunting me. So I don't know if it's me or cats, but it adds a layer of stress we don't need. So
It does. It
kennel
does.
your cats or take them with you and take your dogs with you.
Solid advice. Thank you, Tessa. Well, Tessa,
Sorry.
like you offered earlier, if there's any home inspectors or real estate agents or buyers or sellers, anybody who's had
Yeah.
experiences, some crazy experiences with attendance at inspections, people being there who shouldn't be there, bad behavior, whatever, I'd love to hear your stories. What's your worst story? If I get enough emails, we might just make an episode out of it. And
Yes.
we'll
That'd be
definitely
fun.
follow up by getting a few people on our team to chat about some of their experiences.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds fun. All right. Well, thanks, Reuben. This was fun, and I'm glad you resurrected this blog from 15 years ago. Give it a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
update.
it's time. It's time. And
15 years, man. Whew.
I know, where does it go? Well,
Huh.
I forgot to throw out our email. I say it every time. Podcast. It's podcast at structuretech.com. We read all the emails. Podcast at structuretech.com. Please email us. and we will catch you next week. Thanks for
Thanks
tuning
for
in.
listening.
All right. Take care.
Bye.